All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our website where you can listen to the X Zone 24/7, 365, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Well, my next guest is Allan Green, and Catherine and Allan Green have been connecting to the Galactics since the 1970s, and when Allan does his past life and spiritual journey work, people often connect with their home planet and race, which can be a planet, a star, even a meeting place of energies in space. When Allan does his past life work, he can see and feel what the person sees and feels, and so he claims to have viewed, listen to this, 523 alien species and home planets. Now, most are androgynous, has never seen the same race twice. Allan says they're all here to help the planet ascend. Catherine and Allan were in Lemuria, where Hawaii is present day, and Atlantis. They claim to have galactic children on the other side, taken from their sperm and eggs even before they met in this lifetime. Now, in the 1990s, Allan removed 57 implants from one person, and they tag teamed together to search out and remove them on a constant basis now. Transmitters, receivers, they can put implants in themselves. Others can as well, and of course can the aliens. Joining me now from the nation's capital, Ottawa, in the Ottawa area I should say, is Allan Green. And Allan, welcome to the X Zone.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much. It's up to 530 alien species and planets that I've seen now.
530?
As of last Saturday.
So tell me, Allan, how did you get started doing the work that you're doing?
Well, years ago, you find usually you have a special gift to do something by accident.
Yes.
I was in a spook group back in 1982, which is deep trance channelers, people who would actually leave their body and a spirit would come in and speak through them. I couldn't do that. I was just a part of that group. But a lady mentored me, and she came to my apartment and said, and she said, "I'm going to, you're going to take me back into a past life." And I went, like heck I am. And she said, well, I'm closing your eyes, I'm going back. And so I saw her in a fighter plane over the English Channel, and it crashed into the ocean, and the whole apartment got freezing cold because we were under the water.
Unbelievable.
So that was the first realization that I could see what people see and feel what they feel. I could have let it go, but I just kept on doing it, and for 13 years I did it for free, and then I started doing it full-time in 2004.
What was it that got you interested in the first place? Was it something that you felt you had to do? Was it a message, a sign? But what got you to the point where you wanted to be part of this group?
It just sort of fell into place.
Right.
And I had the ability, I found out in the 1970s, I had the ability to see spirits around people, and they could be as clear as a person I could meet on the street. And it got to be really kind of crazy because I would go to parties, and I would, I didn't know who was real. And I would put my hands up to a person, and if my hand would go through them, I would leave my shoelaces untied. So if I didn't know if the person was real, I would bend down and see if my hand went through their foot. And I'd be talking to a person for half an hour in the corner, having a wonderful talk at a party, and realize that they're actually, I'd say, "You're dead, aren't you?" And he goes, "Yes, I am."
Wow.
And then I would wake up in the middle of the night, and this face would be really, really clear. His face is as clear as I could see a human face right in front of my face. And it got to be really kind of a circus, and there was a lot of dark forces around people. Like when everybody's got an addiction, a person has a tendency to have a dark force around them that's feeding off that. And I would try to combat that and talk about it and even give messages. But in the 1970s, nobody was really interested. So I asked it to be shut down as far as only when I want to see spirits around people do I do that. And Catherine's very good. She prompts me all the time and says, what do you think in the corner? And then, of course, as soon as she prompts me, I can see it very clearly.
All right, stand by, Alan. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Allan Green. And it's going to be an interesting hour, this I promise you. A couple of websites, www.allangreen.ca and www.catherinegreen.net. And we'll both be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X-Zone continues from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, X-Zone Nation, sign our online petition. It's www.stopebolapetition.com. And also the X-Chronicles newspaper for October, which is our most highly distributed newspaper, comes out at the end of next week, just in time for Halloween. We'll be back on the other side of this break with Allan Green. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Allan Green is my guest this hour. 2 websites, www.allangreen.ca and www.catherinegreen.net. Allan, please tell us about implants.
Right. Well, about 20 years ago, I was doing a past life session with a lady, and I can see what people see and feel what they feel. And as we're starting, I looked up, and it looked like a guillotine. It looked like a blade of a guillotine. I went, oh, what a great way to start a past life with her head cut off. and I then I said, now I can't see it till the person focuses on it. So I said, would you look above you and see what that is? And she saw it was a big hospital light, like one of those big, chrome lights with all the lights in it. And she was lying on the table, and there was these 5 aliens putting implants in her body, in her etheric body. And we were watching that happen, and then all of a sudden we felt her morph down into the human body, into her mother's womb, and she kept saying, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." And so anyway, we removed 57 implants from her that day. Wow. And what had happened was her great grandchildren in the future realized or thought that the mind was everything that mattered, and they didn't care anything about the body. And, of course, as they think more the mind is everything and the body isn't recognized and emotions aren't felt, then the body starts to deteriorate. And basically, in the future, the race was dying because they didn't have any connection. So they put all these implants in it, and she had agreed to this happening, put the implants in her so that she could monitor what it's like to feel, what it's like to feel movement. There were 2 little things that were black, like cigar things that in her neck that looked like those little licorice cigars you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
They were in her neck, and they would monitor her movement that way. They were in her body. They were in her vagina to see what it would be like to feel that again. They were all over the place, and we were removing them, and I had never done this before, but we knew that we had to do it. She got down to about her thighs, and she shook really hard, and I said, "What's the matter?" She says, "I've given birth to 4 kids. I just gave birth to something. What is it?" And I said, "Probably the real you for the first time." Then we went down, and they were in her knees, they were on her feet, they were in the soles of her feet so they could feel what it's like to walk again. And so we finally finished, and every time we remove implants, it seems that there happens to be a bit of a toxin release, so the person goes to the washroom. So basically she went to the washroom, and I closed my eyes, and I'm sort of meditating and saying to myself, gosh, what happened? I can't believe this just happened. And I opened my eyes, and the 5 aliens were standing in front of me. And basically, I guess where there's no time where they are, no linear time, and basically they were there looking at me in kind of like awe, like, what happened or why did you do that? I looked at them and I said, she's clear, she doesn't want this to happen anymore, and you must leave. And we've sealed her, and she's safe. And they kind of nodded and they left. But before they left, they gave me a message. And she came back from the washroom and she sat down. And I said, I'm going to ask you an unusual question. Do you go into a room full of people that you've never met before, and everybody just loves you? They come up and hug you and everything? She goes, yeah, that happens all the time. I said, do you also go into a room full of people you've never met before, and those people, everybody hates you, and they sneer at you, and they swear at you? She goes, yeah, that happens too. Well, what happens is these alien implants, they wanted to find out in the future so much about what was going on in feelings that they sent out negative vibrations and positive vibrations through those implants to see what the reaction would be back. And so her whole life she was been going through a roller coaster doing this. And she phoned me about 2 weeks later. She said, my life is back to normal, and I can't thank you enough.
Now, what do you do with the implants?
What do you do with the implants when I remove them?
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, we send white light into it. There's many different ways an implant can be in a body. Often there's an implant in your stomach. Let's say there'll be tentacles that will go and wrap itself around your spinal cord or your organs. So you have to be able to track them back. And you send white light into it, and basically the tentacles retract back into the organism, and then you can actually etherically lift it out of your body. Now, what happens is, as our frequency raises on the planet, and it's raising really fast all the time, the implants that were put in at a lower vibration can't handle that low energy, and they're forced to the surface. So basically, you can actually, shake your arm and say, my arm feels terrible, I don't like that, and you move quick, and you've actually thrown an implant out of your body. And basically, there's many different types of implants, and Catherine and I are really good at seeing them and moving them out. There can be a transmitter where you're just transmitting back to your home planet. There could be one that wants to track you, make sure you're okay, so if the world goes down, they'll come and pick you up. Another one where you put them in yourself. Like one girl, she had a situation where she went and put an implant in her stomach because she watched her parents fighting when she was a kid, and she said, I don't want to ever have any kids because if I might marry a guy who's really handsome and beautiful, and then all of a sudden he turns into a bad person and it ruins the life of the child. So she put them in her stomach, one big one, so that she could not have any children. We removed it, and I said, you be very careful now because for the first time in your life you can actually get pregnant. And then we had a person that Catherine was working with, who I can mention his name, everybody would know him, he's quite a well-known person worldwide, and he was on drugs, and she was hosting him, and he thought she was trying to save the money or take the money for herself, which she was not doing, of course, and he really wanted that money for drugs. And so he said, I want to have half the money before he even shows up. And she knew that if he was on drugs, that would never happen. The money would be gone. So she said, I haven't gathered it, and you'll have to wait till you come here. So he actually put an implant in her to track her to make sure his money was going where he thought it would go. And basically, 2 years, that happened in 2000, back in the 1990s. And when we got married, she came up to me and said, there's this problem in my neck. I don't know what it is. And I'm practical. So I just thought it was maybe a muscle spasm. I said, well, if it's still there tomorrow, we'll check it out. Went in, there was a little implant about, an inch, half an inch long and about, half an inch wide. It was square and it was purple, and we removed it, and the pain went away right away. Now, what happens is with implants, they're either attached to a consciousness or they have their own consciousness. So according to free will on this planet, when we do remove them, we look at them and we talk to them, and they have to tell us where they come from, and we can track it back to the moment that it came in, the alien race that it came in, or even the corporations sometimes will put in an implant in a person too, or some organizations. There's a couple of large organizations, I won't mention their names, but they in all their high officials that know all the top secrets of the place, they put implants in those people. And a gentleman came to our home, and he was in really bad shape. He had just retired from one of those big companies, and he went and he was dying. And when we sat on the couch, and we didn't even go up to a sacred room and try and remove anything, but we saw the implant and we removed it, and he was right better. Because if he had so much knowledge, they wanted to get rid of him. And so now he's living a normal life.
But what do you do when you take the implant out? Is it a physical implant, or is it a...
It's always etherical.
Okay, so there's...
Yeah, the person...
Okay.
The person can feel it coming to the surface, and they grab onto it, and then we create a force field in front of them that is like the white light you go to when you pass over, and basically they hand it into the light. And we've seen miraculous things happen instantaneously.
How do you deal with skepticism? Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, wow, this is neat, you know. When Dr. Lear and Daryl Sims remove an implant, they take photos of it, they send it to a laboratory to get an analysis, and they share the information with the world.
Right.
But yours are basically imaginary.
Well, the thing is that when we don't really consider the alien thing anything outside of ourselves. It's a natural part of the progression on this planet. We are connected with the Galactic Federation of Light, and basically these implants, we don't realize the power we have as human beings, that we can actually recognize things, and we can also remove things if we want to. And that's just the way it is.
All right, so tell me more about the Galactic, what's it called, the Galactic
Federation of Light?
Tell me about that.
Well, the Galactic Federation of Light is a federation that is here to associate with the world and help the world with its ascension. And basically, Catherine and I are a part of that Galactic Federation of Light. You can be a human being and a spirit guide for somebody at the same time. This has been shown thousands of times. I've had over 23,000 individual journeys with people, so that's been shown. So you can also be here on the planet and somewhere else at the same time. And I had a lady actually inform me. She called back in the early 2000s, and she said, "Are you Allan Green?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I want you to inform me that you are now a commander in the Galactic Federation of Light." And I went, "Okay, who are you?" And she just hung up. And the whole point is that she collects this information, and she heard my name, and she researched me through different places that I worked in Toronto, and called me, and her information was to tell me that.
So as a commander, what do you do?
Well, I don't know on the other side. Frankly, I all I care about is being a human being. I accept that as part of my reality, but basically I just, Catherine and I, before we came to Earth, we have actually transported ourselves back, and we saw that we had fleets. We had fleets that were huge, and she was the commander of her fleet, and I was the commander of my fleet. And we basically went through the universe, and we protected planets. Basically, we went and, if a planet was being bullied or somebody's going to try and take it over, by the size of our fleet, we wouldn't have to fire any weapons at all or anything because of the sheer size. It was intimidation. And so that's what we did. And then this is the third time that Earth has been tried. The first time was way out in the universe, and the second time was in the Pleiades, and the third time's here. And this is the time we're going to get it right. So basically, we fled to Lemuria, which is where Hawaii is right now, and that's where it was our first life on this planet.
You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. Exonation, Allan Green is our special guest this hour. 2 websites, Exonation. www.allangreen.ca and www.catherinegreen.net. And Allan and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget our online petition, StopEbolaPetition.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, all around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates, internet affiliates, and satellite programming providers. We'll be back. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. Allan Green is our special guest. www.allangreen.ca and www.catherinegreen.net. And we're talking about alien implants. We're talking about the Galactic Federation of Light. And before we went to the commercial break, you were telling us that both you and Catherine were commanders of fleets, large fleets. And what kind of fleets were you commanders of? Were they starships?
They were, multi-dimensional. There was major ships, there was quarter-mile ships, there was ships that were backup ships. It was a major fleet. And the night before we got married, we were lying in bed, and Catherine looked up to the sky. She said, "Look at that." And etherically, we looked, and all these ships were lined up, and basically they went by us, and every one of them stopped in front and turned and tipped their wings in salute. And that was part of our original fleet. They somehow gone through a dimension, and they were celebrating that we were getting married. So for a whole 5 minutes, we're going, "Wow, look at that! Oh my God, holy shuck, look at that!" And for a whole 5 minutes, we watched that happen. Then on our wedding day, I was concerned about Catherine more than anything, but we had about 9 spiritual friends that were really powerful, and we were in the middle of the wedding, and she went and signed the register outside, and there's kind of a hole in the trees above, and all my friends are looking up with their mouths open. And I looked up, and there was this quarter-mile ship over our wedding protecting us. And so basically, like 10% of, we only really are seeing 10% of what's really happening on this planet. And it's very easy for us because we deal in weird, and we also have been doing this for a while to able to see things. And back in 2004, I was in my apartment in London, Ontario, and it was a top apartment, and there was a flat roof. And basically, I was working with a lady who was doing Reiki with me, and all of a sudden, I said, "There's a quarter-mile ship over the house." And all of a sudden, 3 aliens just popped down, really short ones, beside me. And I said, I kind of laughed, and I said, "Well, come on closer." And they came closer, and they put this kind of a pad on my stomach, and then it had an etheric crystal ball. Psychically, I could see it. And I said, "I guess I'm supposed to accept it." So I pushed it down inside my stomach. And then all of a sudden, they came out with this big book, and with the reading pages, like a contract I had made or something. And I wondered what I had done, but anyway, in 2007, when I married to Catherine, my stomach was very large. And I said, "Catherine, what's wrong?" She said, "Well, take a look inside." So I looked inside my stomach, and that little teeny sphere that was about 2 inches, had grown to about 4 or 5 inches. I looked, and there was this glass window around the top, and all these beings were looking at me. And there was these escalators going down to another round blobs and everything. And I realized that I had somehow agreed to, because no alien can affect you unless you agree to it. If an alien comes up to you in real physical form and points a gun at you and says, "Come with me," the natural tendency is just to go with them. But because of free will on the planet, you cannot go. They cannot hurt you or take you unless you have an agreement on some level, or you have a fear that you feel you have to. And so basically, I looked inside and I said, "Okay, guys, this is not healthy for me. You're going to actually leave, or I'll destroy you." And the whole mass of the whole group just left out of my stomach. And I went out that morning. I had weighed myself, and I was 242 pounds, the heaviest I've ever been in my life. As soon as that happened, I went upstairs and weighed myself. I was 222 pounds. I lost 20 pounds in a matter of minutes.
Allan, what was your profession prior to doing the work you do now?
I was a professional musician for 25 years, and I also worked for UPS in Canpar.
Wow, super. Whereabouts in London did you live? I used to work at CJBK in London.
Oh, I know that station. Yeah, I lived at near Huron and Highbury area. It was really great. It's a great city. It's it's a powerful city. It's quite conservative, and I was a light holder in that area, in that city, in the northeastern section of the city. And basically, I found Catherine, and I said, I'm moving to the country. This beautiful blonde girl in a log home in the woods with 8 cats, and I'm going to my Shangri-La. And people said, "You can't leave because you're a light holder in the northeast section." I said, "No, I got to leave." So I left, and the crime rate increased 108% in the next year that after I left.
Now, for our listeners who may not know, tell them what a light holder is.
There's many different things. There's light holders, there's light bringers, there's people who A light holder is somebody who holds the energy of the light and keeps the vibration as high as it can possibly be in that area. There were other light holders in London, of course. I wasn't the only one. And then a person can be a light bringer, and that's called a Lucinda. Then there can be love light workers, and there can be light workers too.
London is definitely a nice city. In fact, our granddaughter goes to Fanshawe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great city. And tell me more about this quarter-mile UFO spaceship. Now, was this etheric or was this in physical form?
Well, it was in physical form, etheric. Now, what happens is I was doing a past life with a lady once, and she saw herself like by a coastal area, and she was watching these cars go by on a highway, like you would see in California or something. And she was looking, she said, well, it's kind of milky. And she says, I feel I'm in a cloud.
Right.
I said, yes, you are. Now, I can see what people see and feel what they feel. I already knew what was happening, even though I'd never had it happen before. I said, look around. What do you feel around you? And she goes, oh, my God, I'm in a conning tower. And that this is like where all the controls are and all the people. And I said, they're alien. And I said, look at yourself. And she said, oh, I'm alien too. And so aliens will actually disguise themselves in ships, in clouds. When we were down in Mount Shasta in September, and they have the lenticular clouds there, and basically, there are alien motherships that actually hide in the clouds. I remember one time I heard this whirling noise over my apartment in London, and I went and I went out, and there was no clouds in the sky except this one little small cloud above my head. I looked at them, and they can sense me, and I can sense them, and I said, I know you're there. I can see you. And the cloud just took off and just almost like at warp speed, it went across the London and it disappeared.
Wow. So
Yeah.
why are they here?
Aliens? Well, actually, we're here as aliens. We're all in a human body. Like you could be a Zoran from some country, but basically, we're here to help the planet ascend, and we're here to learn about things. Now, when a lot of alien species are actually perfect. They have a beautiful race. There's no war. Everybody gets along. It's really good. But it's quite boring, actually. They don't learn anything because everything's perfect. They don't need to do anything. So they will actually come in a human body and come here to learn about, love and hate and forgiveness and humor, all those things. And then when they either pass over this lifetime or whatever, they go back to their home planet and teach their home planet what they've learned, or by osmosis actually integrated into the whole race, and then that whole race grows and learns.
All right, but if they are in a perfect planet where there's peace and everything, wouldn't they have had to at one time fight and evolve to get to this peaceful plateau that they're at? And if that is the case, can't they learn from their own history without hijacking bodies?
Well, they're not really hijacking bodies. It's their body that they're choosing to come into, because when you come down on the Earth, you are part of the Earth genome, and you take a human body that's made up of the stuff that our bodies are made up. And basically the whole point is that the Earth is evolving, and the world is evolving, and the universe is evolving all the time. So there's always new things to learn. So, that's why they do it, and that's why we do it. And we come here to learn about a lot of different things.
So where do we go after we leave here?
Well, probably to another planet. It is our last life on the planet. There's a thing called the Akashic Records, which is a life book library where everybody's life book is stored on this planet. And Kath and I have been both there, and we saw that in 2005 my life book was finished, so I could leave, and I've done all I wanted to do as far as help the planet get to a point where it could ascend on its own. And then, but then I started to wait around because it's the greatest time in the history of the universe to be here. And my reward for staying around was meeting Catherine. And she finished her life book in 2007. So we finished that life book, and we take it to another library way out in the middle of space called the Universal Planetary Library. It's the library of all the planets that you've lived on. And the Cherokee Natives believe if you're on the planet right now, you can have up to 400 past lives and 388,000 lives on other planets before you came to Earth.
Wow, that's a lot of living.
Yes. And so somebody can say, I'm from Pleiades or I'm from Syria or something. Well, yes, they could have been, but maybe the last planet they had was Pleiades, and maybe the one before that it was Octurians. Maybe it was Lyrans or whatever.
So tell me,
have
Allan, are you a human or are you an extraterrestrial? What are you?
I'm an unconditionally loving child of God, no more unique or special than anybody else as a human. And that's great. Now, people say who you are is a past life and spirit journey facilitator. No, that's just what I do. So I am no unique or more special than anybody else. I'm still learning here. I can die just the way anybody else can, but my vibration, we keep our vibration high, so things work well. But I have galactic roots, and we all have. We all are from somewhere else. And there was a seeded race on this planet that came here first, but most of us have come here to learn this because this is the great learning ground.
So if this is a learning ground, help me understand this. If this is a learning ground, and if we come from a species where they live in total harmony, love, and they live in perfection, and we come down here, as I understand it, to experience what they have forgotten to experience because everything is perfect, why don't they help us to make this a better planet? Why don't they help us to feed the hungry? Why don't they help us to eradicate disease? Why don't they help us to bring an end to war?
Well, there's a lot of planets where there is no such thing as free will. And this planet, that's the way it is. So basically, there's so many different, like I said, 530 alien species and home planets I've seen with people. They've seen and felt them too. And basically, you know, when you got all that many races here on the planet, we're learning how to get along. We're learning about what we need to do, and certain ones have certain are scientists, certain ones are more in the heart based. And basically, you know, through the countries and all the world, this world, the more we're working on. When we heal it here, we're actually healing it in the universe at the same time.
But if that is the case, then other people on other planets working on problems that we face here who are healing them, they should heal here at the same time. And that's not happening. How come?
Well, it's basically because of free will. You know,
but isn't free will a big cop-out? Because we really don't know what the answer is, so we're just going to call it free will.
Well, the only one who can heal you is you. Not even Christ could heal people if they didn't want to be healed. So if you believe that you can be healed, you can heal yourself instantaneously.
All right, but I'm talking about, you were saying that we come here for an experience, but when we do something here to solve a problem, it is solved in other places at the same time. You also said that we've been here for up to 400 lifetimes, I think you said, and that
we've had 850 on the planet,
and we've had several thousand before that.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't ring true, because if that was the case, then this planet would be in a hell of a lot better state than it is right now. And if we are in fact a testing ground or a live theater for a group of deadbeat aliens, something is wrong with that race. They're not very nice. They're not very friendly. If they have to use the people on this planet for their own amusement, I don't like them. I don't want them here.
Well, you're putting words in my mouth, but basically there are good aliens and there's bad aliens on this planet. And I think the vast majority are good aliens. And they're here to help us learn about ourselves and learn how we can connect with everybody and be a part of the universe and ascend. And this is the first time in the history of the universe that a planet is actually ascending with the people.
How do we know that?
And the women are leading this.
How do we know that?
And the women are leading the spiritual journey forward.
How do we know this to be true? How do we know this isn't a folklore, a myth, or a legend? How do we know it's real?
Well, you know, people who are it's happening to you whether you know it or not, and basically on this planet, everything is sped up. You know, like when Hale-Bopp, the comet, came through back in 1997, it increased the frequency of the planet from 6.5 megahertz to 11.5 megahertz. So everything we thought negative came back twice as fast, everything positive came back twice as fast, and everything that we intended on happening happened twice as fast. And so this planet is moving fast, really fast forward, and things that would take 10 years to learn, we can learn in 10 months or 10 minutes. And so this is part of ascension. And ascension is a situation where we're not really leaving the planet, but the world evolves differently around you.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if we are learning faster, how come it still takes 8 years to get a master's? How come it takes 8 years for a doctor to go through his residency, his internship? That hasn't increased.
That's because we've declared that should be the process. You know, one of the things that anybody who's spiritual, the main function is helping people remember what they already know. And I was never trained in doing past lives because I let the universe show me. And as I worked with more people, it got better and better on the other side. And basically, who brings people, us the people, are the people's guides. So we get well known on the other side in the spirit realm, and we get bookings.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My guest this hour, Allan Green. And if you'd like to find out more about Allan or his wife, Catherine, their website is www. Wait a sec, I just had it here a second ago. Where did it go, Craig? Oh, here it is. Thanks. www.allangreen.ca and www.catherinegreen.net. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Allan Green is our guest this hour, Exonation, www.allangreen.ca. And his wife Catherine's website is www.catherinegreen.net. And I must say, Allan, you've kind of opened up a can of worms here, because I'm having a hard time trying to formulate everything into a cohesive timeline. You know, you've got aliens, you've got alien implants, you've got UFOs that hide in clouds, you've got motherships in clouds, you have quarter-mile sized UFOs over a place in London, Ontario. You've got a sphere that was given to you by the aliens. You put it in your stomach. I believe it's esoteric. And
yes.
It went from 1 inch to 4 inches, and at the time when you took out the esoteric mass, you lost 20 pounds.
Right.
You claim you say you're a commander in the Federation of Light. All this seems.
Now, what happens is,
all this seems to be surreal.
What happens is when a psychic says they see a spirit around a person, they don't really see that spirit; they feel that spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking from a very mind-based thing that needs logical, practical analysis.
I like to call it realistic.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm about as realistic as anybody else. You know, when Catherine had an implant in, I thought, well, it could just be a muscle spasm. I didn't even care about looking at it until we looked and we found it was that. And I believe that, you know, mosquitoes, black flies, deer flies, they all come from aliens who don't like humans. That's a bit of a joke, by the way.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're serious or not now.
Okay. Well, I'm dead serious. You know, I was just making a joke that, you know, we don't like mosquitoes or black flies or deer flies.
Oh.
So I'm just making a joke that they probably came from some alien who doesn't like humans.
I gotcha. Okay. But you're not saying that they were brought here by the aliens.
No, they're not.
Okay, gotcha. All righty. So what is your final word for the X Zone Nation tonight?
That there's a lot of presences on this planet who do not want this planet to evolve,
mm-hmm.
and the women are leading the spiritual journey forward.
Yeah,
the
they always have.
Support them.
They always have.
And men are supposed to support them. Not only we're supposed to give some of our power and learn about our own power at
mm-hmm.
the same time. So men who are spiritual have no problem with that. men who love women and understand and respect women have no problem with that. It's the macho men and the corporations and the governments that don't want that to happen.
Oh, I don't. I think you're a little off the key there when you say the corporations and the government. I don't think there's a government or corporate conspiracy to keep women out of the mainstream. I think that, as we're seeing now, more and more women are entering corporate workplace, corporate executives, presidents of company, and look at GM, for goodness sake. They've got a woman who's president.
Mm-hmm. And, well,
mind you,
women,
we also
are doing what they need to do.
We also had Flora McDonald as our prime minister for a short period of time, and boy, did she ever screw things up.
Okay.
All right, listen, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight, Allan. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Take care of yourself. Please give my best to Catherine. And I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. Until then, be safe and travel well.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night now. All right, X Zone Nation, Allan Green has been my guest this hour. www.allangreen.ca and catherinegreen.net. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always send an email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and you can listen to us 7/24/365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com or by calling 213-401-0080. Don't go away. This is the X Zone. I'll be back.